Oh man. Oh, it was amazing. He was so cute. He looked just like my old master. I put him in a backpack and I ran like all through the forest, just like the old days. I even got a little tiny lightsaber. It was green, just like mine, so we could match, and then we could fight and train.
Well, man. What happened? Well, he was just constantly like Mando this and Mando that, and I just want to see my real dad. So I was like, fine. You want to hang with me? Then you could just go. So I threw him in my X-ring and I just had R2 fly to Tatooine. Wow, man, that's rough. But wait a minute. Did you say Tatooine? I mean, not not Mos Eisley, right?
Yeah, of course, man.
Wait a minute. You space Ubered an unaccompanied minor to the most wretched hive of scum and villainy in the Outer Rim? I mean, they love that stuff. They put that on a sign they've got outside of town. You know that?
Oh yeah, I actually grew up like just near there.
Dude!
Oh, oh my God! I am a horrible person. I am a horrible person. I should just run away to some distant planet where no one can ever find me.
No, dude. Easy. Relax. Okay, just stop. It's not that bad, man. It's all right. I mean, look, it's your first shot, right? I mean, you should at least give it another go.
You really think so?
Hey everyone, they're going to take over for a second because I got to fix my camera here. Doing this live is tough.
Hey everyone, D here. Not the D you were expecting. Not that one, but this one. Hey, I'm Don Willie, and as you can see, I'm currently on air. Me, Darth Tater, Mando. You know that guy. This was supposed to be your show or something like that, right? It was the book of Boba Fett.
I figured somebody should represent the guy in his own show.
Interesting. Yeah. So, welcome to the season or possibly series finale review for the book of Boba Fett on this guy's channel. So, the book of Boba Fett.
Thanks, Don, for taking it over on that. Hey, everyone. Welcome, of course, to our big finale show. I'm glad we decided to try and do something fun for you. Just kind of came up at the last minute, just little ideas, put a little happy shine on this finale, which I know has hit a lot of people pretty crazy. It's Book of Boba Fett, Episode 7, a whole mess of Messerschmitts. That's what I'm calling it, at least. And of course, joining me, as always, the most fabulous group that you could ever ask for. We have, coming from down low, the man who, of course, opened the show up for us. From a dawn of ice and fire, it is Don Willie.
Hey, what's going on? Glad to be back here with these two gentlemen. Lucky is being lucky right now, and thank you to the Rich Room for the belated birthday shout out. I'm getting old.
And of course, joining us up top here, the man, the myth, legend himself from Smirking Reviews. It's, well, Rob Stone as Boba Fett.
Like I said, this is the way, right? I mean, so from here on out, I'm gonna just be wearing this thing. So get used to it. I'm gonna get used to it. Why not? Let's at least try to be somewhat accurate to something around here. I don't know. I'm gonna act like I give a shit. So
it is nice.
We're gonna talk about this like a bunch of good old Mandos, and hopefully have some more fun than frustration, even though I can sense the frustration in the chat already building.
Indeed, indeed. Speaking of the chat, want to give a big shout out, of course, to Silver Surfer joining us first in the chat tonight, fangirling and loving it. Right behind him, the Rich Room also in. We got a nice little crowd today. Really excited. Everybody, look. Also, throw in your questions and stuff. I want to be sure to make some time to check on any little questions or comments that you guys have about the show. So let's get kind of right into it, because we've kind of harped. Okay, we really have harped on this series from pretty much the get-go. I don't want to dive in too much about just jumping on a dead horse. I do want to get kind of what everyone's general thoughts are on this episode, because I think, much like the show, there were a lot of really good ideas that were set up and brought forth. I think the failure was in the execution. It feels very much like first note drafts went straight into production, that there were a lot of opportunities dropped, a lot of buildup that never went anywhere, a lot of payoffs that just petered out. So did we have action? Yeah, of course. Got to have the big finale. Robert Rodriguez, known for that. But of course, as many people have mentioned, also too much Spy Kids. And that's really just God, what this felt like. It was Star Wars Spy Kids for me. Rob, what did you think of this finale briefly?
I mean, whatever it is, if it's a series finale, if it's a season finale, it is what it is at this point. We got some really interesting stuff in this finale. Some really cool stuff that's gonna sell more toys and T-shirts and just keep this thing rolling. You know, we've got the promise of what's more to come with Mando and Grogu, and this isn't the end of Boba Fett, but like a lot of these things, this one way to look at this is again passing the torch. It's basically saying we can't have two Mandos, right? We need only one main Mando, and it can't be Boba Fett. It's going to be the Disney created and controlled character that is a Disney property, not a Disney. After they bought it, he's their creation. Boba Fett comes with the baggage of the fandom and everything else with it, and so respectfully, he's been retired to Tatooine to just live among moisture farmers and other scum and villainy. And that's where they're just going to keep him, and it's better than killing him off, but this was poorly executed in many ways. And yeah, we do get to look forward to the stories of the Mandalorian, and we'll be happy with that. And this just... yeah, there's a lot of great ideas, a lot of missed opportunities, things we saw coming from a mile away. And yet I still found myself being surprised at how irritated I was. But now I'm just like, I'm at acceptance. I'm at the acceptance stage of things, right? I could be trying to do this end character, but it's just an embarrassing way to handle this character that people saw his armor and saw his ship and created a whole backstory for this person that they made a race. This character who had nothing, they created an entire race off of this face. And then you add the clone connection to the whole thing, and you get all the way here, and it's like you're kind of coming down the stairs all right, and then you just trip and you fall the last like 100, and then you get back up again, for a little bit, and you're going down fine. In fact, you're going down better than ever because that's when the Mandalorian shows up and Grogu shows up. And then as soon as this gets there, it turns into again, you just start tripping and stumbling around and trying to figure out a way to finish this thing.
Right.
And somehow we got some cool things that we wanted. But in the glaring light of day, the ways that this was handled was poorly. And even if Disney might have been trying some way, I almost feel like there's something they were trying here, experimenting with, structure-wise, a way to do things. I don't know, but failed. They failed. They got us watching, but they failed at the quality of the content overall.
Okay.
So,
All right. Fair enough. Don, what about yourself? What was your take on this finale?
So, at the end of Mandalorian season 2, I was like, oh wow, great ending. Can't wait to see what they do for season 3, right? And then somewhere along the line, we got the announcement that there were 3 lost episodes of The Mandalorian, and I was like, oh, this is kind of weird, like how 3 lost episodes from season 2. I'm wondering how in the world that happens, right? And so here is the new Mandalorian season 2 finale, which I was like, interesting. They brought back Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, and introduced us to a few new characters. And for some reason, Robert Rodriguez decided to channel his inner Michael Bay into this particular episode. And I mean, he went full Michael Bay. And, to kind of paraphrase from a very funny Ben Stiller movie, you never go full Michael Bay. But somehow that happened here. You think explosions and guns and jokes, and kooky action sequences, and bang, bang, bang. Listen, I'm not gonna say that I'm not gonna say that it wasn't an enjoyable episode, right? Because I would be lying if I said that I didn't enjoy watching. But so many fumbles. This is why we have the Super Bowl matchup that we have, because fumbles, fumbleaya, fumblerooski, right? So for the things that I did enjoy, there were too many pull downs. It's like climbing a ladder with a ball and chain. Eventually.
We just need one more metaphor from D, and then we got we've done like the full circuit.
Yeah, I'm going through my reference book here. It'll take me a minute to find another.
It's just one of those things where it's like I wanted to love it because we got everything that was needed to love it, right? We have our band of heroes against the drug smuggling, nefarious infidels. You have backstabbing and betrayals, and we didn't get the betrayal that I thought we were going to get, because honestly speaking, I mean, Fennec spent the entire season disagreeing with Boba, and this time around, when she was like, hey, you know what, might as well let the spice run, and Boba's like, no, he went all Don Corleone and was like, oh, we don't deal in drugs. Drugs is a dirty business. If people want pepper on their steak, they're gonna have to go and find it from somewhere else. We don't. We don't do saffron and those kind of things. Anything more than salt, we don't deal in here. So it was just it was a roller coaster from a bygone era, unfortunately. If I were 30 years younger, I probably would have enjoyed this very much. But you grow up, your taste gets sophisticated, and damn you, Michael Bay, damn you.
All right, fair enough. Well, jumping into the chat, look, Eric Scott enjoyed the episode a lot. Was hoping to see how much fun this episode was. Rich Room agreeing with him that the episode was fun. He himself a little disappointed with the show overall. Silva, of course, really just upset that killing the badass Tusken warrior off screen, pretty unforgivable. And yeah, that is very endemic with a lot of this. Fangirling and loving it, seeing the flaws, but also did enjoy it. So we got a little ups and downs, here. Fangirling 37 and terribly unsophisticated. Yeah, that's quite all right. I think unsophisticated is where we're all heading very quickly. So yeah, I mean, that's what I want to point out. So let's kind of start things off with a little bit of the pluses on this episode, because again, we've been harping on a lot of this series, and I think we give pretty clear reasons why we do. Again, just a lot of dropping of stories, a lot of unmotivated action, a lot of build up. The whole Cad Bane bit really could have emotionally been such a powerful bit at the end, but we just met up at the end of last episode, so we've got no connection with them. The Tusken Raider thing just kind of dropped and been barely re-mentioned. I mean, again, those are the bits, but let's focus on the good stuff. What do we enjoy with this episode? Rancor riding. Rancor smashing giant robots, big old kind of kaiju action in the streets. Now, of course, the reason they stayed is because they wanted to protect the town. I'm not sure if this exactly did it, but it was a lot of fun. So I'm going to throw that out there right now. Don, what was something you really enjoyed about this episode?
Fennec, offing all of the bosses. Yes.
Very odd tone change there, but yes, that was very cool. Nice. Wrap that up.
What's one thing I'm honestly surprised about? Where is the fire spray ship in all of this? That was liberated.
That is an excellent point. That is, I guess they can't just rain death from above. That's only for biker gangs. Can't do that in town, maybe. But that's a fair point. Come back with a rancor or a ship against the giant droids, which would be better.
I mean, I figured, maybe against the giant droidicas that might have, okay.
That's a good thought. Rob, Boba, what did you like about this episode besides actually getting to see Boba Fett in the show?
I mean, the art at the end is always really pretty.
That's a plus. That's a plus. And you're right. Their concept art is freaking amazing. I hope they pay.
In all seriousness, I mean,
you can just say it in all seriousness, and then you can't have a serious face. Look what this show has done to us, people.
It was like rancor fight was entertaining. Cad Bane, I love that character. I don't think he's dead.
Better not be.
He better not be. Otherwise, what the hell? I mean, literally, what am I? Yeah, Fennec Shan going all assassin-y. I think we covered those. I think that's the two things.
Those are the only two things. Well,
I mean, because everybody will want to talk about, well, what about, Grogu doing this and Grogu doing that? And I almost feel like that's just like, yeah, of course. Of course that is. But that's like, to me, that's just a different show. I'm talking about the stuff from Book of Boba Fett.
Well, I mean, but we did have a nice, seeing Mando and Boba fighting together, kind of that shot on the
There
street.
was that. In fact, the conversation, I thought, the brief conversation that they had about him taking the way seriously and Boba's reaction being, good. Like, that's what I need right now is somebody to, somebody who takes this seriously because nobody else is.
Right, sure. Well, Eric Scott here in the chat did appreciate them singing Boba Fett during the theme, which, you'd always like the musical additions to things.
Yeah, it's like Pokemon singing.
So, but yeah, I think that's an excellent point. That was a nice character bit, again, in a show that has sadly very few of those. That was kind of a nice little moment there. And the two of them kind of at a last stand. They're I know I keep saying I want to look at the photos of the positive stuff, but I keep kind of falling back. And again, it's just one of the things that are just so kind of unfortunate with the buildup. I mean, like the opening little gag that I did right here. It's fun trying to throw in a light point, but seriously, man, he threw Grogu in an X-Wing and flew him off to Mos Eisley. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's pretty stupid.
Wait up. Literally, the first thing that Obi-Wan says to Luke is, "You'll never find a more wretched hide of scum and villainy."
R2's there, and R2 knows like kung fu and shit.
I mean, it was great that we get him back. I mean, and yeah, it's cute. I love the little reunion bit and Grogu jumping up into his arms. I mean, yeah, that's all good. And you're right, Rob. It's just like, that's the given kind of like sappery, sugary deliciousness that we, will easily add up. And it's one of the reasons why Mandalorian, even in the rust spots, still gets so much love, is the baby Grogu. But whole last season we have this build up to finding his people and returning them and the whole giveaway and so on, and before season 3 even happens, they're back together. I mean, do we just undercut the whole emotional bit for 2, or is this really just the marketing of, man, we gotta have them together, you can't have a Mando without? But I guess that's why we say that these last 2 episodes, but 5 and 6 should have just been episodes 1 and 2 of season 3.
Well, there is an interesting thought to this about the choice and everything. That being like, at the time, Grogu was looking for something else, looking for his people. And then when he got there, realizing, because he's like a baby or a kid or whatever, picks the easy choice because choices are like that. But there's some interesting things about all of this period. First off, if Disney owns Star Wars for like the rest of time, and we're somehow people in the future are lucky enough to have movies still or TV still, and it hasn't all been, engulfed in water or an asteroid or whatever. We've still got Star Wars in a couple hundred years. They've literally got a character who can live for 1,000 years. So like in 200 years from now, they've got a character who's still growing up. You could literally watch this guy's timeline, throughout like the next 1,000 years. Grogu would be like the new Mickey Mouse. So like,
it's actually, I've thought about
not just that though either. Is like the whole thought of like, I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole of mine, but it's just stuff to think about. Like, I can't help it. I'm trying to think of things that aren't trashing the show to say, and this is what I'm doing. I mean, I'm reaching because it feels like on the surface it undercuts the impact of season, of Luke showing up, but it also could have to do with what they've talked about or alluded to, maybe not even alluded to, but how the Force is for everyone.
Yeah.
And that maybe they could be trying to distance themselves from this kind of out of date Jedi concept and start pushing a more, you can have the Force and still be a good person and not have to be a Jedi.
Sure.
And that you don't have to go one really way or the other, making it a more kind of overall, anybody can be, it's not exclusive anymore. So kids out there that want to emulate this don't have to like fight over other things or whatever, however you want to market it, target it. But also then you could even create later that the Jedi could actually be introduced as villains.
Mhm.
Those that are sticking to the old ways. So I don't know.
True. I'm going to jump in the chat here real quick with Eric Scott mentioning maybe Mando told Luke off screen to send him to Peli because he knew Peli would protect Grogu. Sure, except that Mando should have no idea that Luke would be sending Grogu off for any reason, and why would he necessarily be at Peli's because he's all over the place. Yes, I see what you're saying, but this right here is actually, to me, endemic of one of the real issues of this series is if we as audience have to try and make up and find a reason to justify what is happening on screen, that's a failure of storytelling. I'm not saying they got to spoon feed us, because I always talk. I love how writers can trust that the audience can go along. They can imply stuff. They can go around. They can end run stuff. But if you as an audience are making up stories to justify things, Boba Fett is a spice addict because of the spice line that he mentions in season 2 of Mandalorian about this not being a spice stream. I've read giant things that expand upon that is given nowhere in the show. He has no reaction to spice
last week
anywhere. What was that, Rob?
I think that was brought up in the chat last week too.
It has popped up because it's one of those. It's one of those things, but it's something that we as audience are trying to scramble and find, and that's a little different than what Rob was mentioning earlier about when we first saw Boba Fett, that it was so intriguing that we started creating backstories. That's different than justifying actions on screen that don't have connective tissue. And that's, again, that just one of the things to me that's very endemic throughout this show. Yeah. Anyway, Don, did you have something?
This has been a very interesting season overall because, we as an audience had certain expectations of what we thought Boba Fett was supposed to be like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this definitely Rian Johnson, the whole thing with subverting expectations. But look, we saw what has happened with Mr. Rian Johnson in Star Wars after Episode 8. Oh, I'm sorry. What trilogy? Rian Johnson trilogy? Where? So, as I'm pretty sure that the Book of Boba Fett is overall going to be successful in terms of number of viewers, right? But this still could possibly hurt the brand a bit because there have been people who, since 1980 have, been fans of Boba Fett, read the comics, the novels, played video games, whatever may have you. And, to now have to come up with all of these other side reasons for why, this particular line of storytelling is acceptable is unacceptable. You know, things should not be. We shouldn't have to. Excuse me. We shouldn't have to come up with the story on our own. It's fun to do.
Sure.
It's fun to do. Be like, hey, well, you know what if, right? But Disney already owns another brand that does what if all the time. What if isn't a Star Wars thing, at least not yet. I mean, you know what? If they decide to do Star Wars, what if? Cool. I am cool with that. So the thing about it is I understand that one, they're trying to expand the base a bit. They're trying to get more casual people to come in, right? But at the same point, you also have to stick to the script for the most part. The way that they did this, like, I understand what they were trying to do. We've all said it. People all over the internet have said it. The pieces were there, but for some reason they scrambled it and just could not put the puzzle pieces to fit together accurately. And unfortunately, it's painting a very bleak picture of something that has been anticipated for years. Because, when The Mandalorian first got announced, the first thing that everyone was thinking is, oh, okay, it's Boba Fett. The first thing, because everyone knows, all right, Boba Fett is the Mandalorian, the original Mandalorian, right? But we were pleasantly surprised. Din Djarin and Grogu have grown on the fandom. Cool, we're cool with that. So now it was like, all right, expectations are up here because now, you're bringing back Boba Fett. Got reintroduced in Mando season 2. I mean, technically in Mando season 1, there was a lot of speculation when people heard the boots and all that, right? But now you really reintroduce him in Mando season 2, and he is even more badass than we could have possibly imagined. For the 2 or 3 episodes that he was in there, it was kicking ass, taking names, and we're like, oh, okay. And then, the Mando season 2, what does he do? He walks into Jabba's palace, guns down Bib Fortuna, kicks his corpse over, sits on the throne, and we're like, oh, if this is if this is where they're starting, it can only go up from here. So to see what we have seen over these 7 episodes, and I would be lying if I said, oh, it was all bad. No, it wasn't all bad. Just someone in the editing room, just said, oh, you know what? Maybe if we do this, let's just lighten the mood a bit. And here's where we bring in the somber part. And someone else in the editing room did not say, no, don't do that. You are going to screw this whole thing up if you do. And unfortunately, we got an overblown episode, which was the culmination of bad editing choices. There were bright spots in there, but again, Cad Bane should have been introduced earlier, so this way he is established as more of a threat for us, for guys like us who have been watching Clone Wars and Rebels. We know who Cad Bane is, but for anyone who just decided, hey, well, you know what? I got Disney Plus. I'm just gonna, watch this thing because I heard about it and it looks cool. I'm like, okay, who is the blue guy? Oh, he's known Boba Fett for how do we know this? Other than him talking about it? Because wait a minute, we got all those flashbacks of the Tusken Raiders. We got the flashbacks of him on Camino doing nothing but looking at his father flying away, which led to absolutely nothing. Um, but like, what is the history other than I've known you for a long time? I'm not a little boy anymore. You're an old man now. And can we get some elaboration here? Like, how does this all fit together? Why are you two now at odds? Like, were you allies before at some point? Were you always enemies? Were you always in competition because you're bounty hunters and, you stole a bounty from him, he stole a bounty from you, whatever it is? I'm, I'm trying to fight for the little guy here.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think you hit an interesting point, and I just want to bring back something that Fangirling in the chat had mentioned. It brings back to the whole end of season 2 and the introduction of Grogu. She's mentioned that had a feeling that they were planning all along to reunite them, Mando and Grogu, for season 3, and that the Jedi training was never going to be Grogu's forever path. Just didn't expect it to happen in Boba's show. And that's kind of the thing. Because, yeah, I mean, Eric, I think you mentioned in there, this is the expected. Of course, he was going to come back to Mando, but doing it in somebody else's show just makes it weird. And because you spend 2 episodes, you lose the time you could have developed the Cad Bane. What was it? Bad Batch. Fennec Shan and Cad Bane have a match. This could have been a rematch, and just a year later from when we saw it in Bad Batch, if people were watching that show. But even then, you can't depend on, like you were mentioning, Don, you can't depend that people have seen Rebels or Bad Batch or Clone Wars. Storytelling-wise, you have to at least give somebody who doesn't know anything more than just a line in the final showdown of, "You're just like your dad, Boba. You're a killer." Sorry, I'm doing a horrible Cad Bane there, but it's a little bit more, because the emotional buildup that we would have had seeing these two stand off, we don't have, because we don't know of any history to them. Again, if you haven't seen these shows, and this is that reliance on the audience knowing all of the expanded stuff in order to fill in the gaps of your storytelling, it's a shame. I know that people that have played KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, love the Tusken stuff because that was a big part in that story, which is awesome. And it's a great nod to those people who have really expanded their knowledge on Star Wars and really appreciate that. But you can't rely on that for all of your audience. And then, yeah, killing them off screen, you undercut all of the emotional impact of that. Okay, well, since we have been going, what big things bothered you? Let's go the other direction. What big things bothered you? Let's try and keep it short. Pick an example, maybe 2. I'm going to pick a silly one to lead us off. If you guys have been watching through Twitter, this has sort of jumped all over. It's definitely, I repeated a few things on my feed. The big spin move that Dash's buddy does with the throwing off the Wookiee and spinning and shooting with the tiniest little pistol. I love how all of the mods had the tiniest little guns. For those people that don't know my history, I did do stunts for a while. I did a lot of sword fighting, a lot of choreography bit. We would call this back in the day cool move choreography, a completely unmotivated action that you throw in the middle of a fight because damn, it looks cool. And it's sad because you could probably make this work. You could do a cool spin with a couple of shots and dodge and carry the momentum around, lift the Wookiee up and then you dodge a shot and that spins you and then you pull. But this didn't happen. I know there's like one shot that happened sort of like just afterwards, but he spins in place, drops barely a little bit with the Wookiee right behind him and shoots. He's not dodging. He's not doing anything. It's just a cool looking move. And it's one of those things that just annoy the crap out of me. Again, I know it's a personal thing, but it's also like, why? This is just style with no substance. And yeah, is it fun? Sure. I guess more fun if you're 12, but anyway, Rob, what was something that bothered you?
There was that moment when they were talking about how they had to make a stand where they were, and they're like, well, what are we supposed to do here? Just stand here and die? And the way she just says, we fight, and there's nothing else. It's just such a stupid, it's just such a cornball line. It really freaking grabbed me the wrong way. Everything with them, every single moment that the spin move, the Vespas, that I know why they're there. It's not for me, but it's still just, it takes me out of it. It takes me so far out of it. I feel like I'm not watching Star Wars whenever they're on screen, and they have a point in the beginning about hiding from the going to the palace or being out in the streets, but like broken clock is right, like what, once a day, something like that. I don't know, but twice a day. I can fix a metaphor. Anyway, so that bothered me, and just something that's more of just a personal thing that I've reached my limit on, and that's
Sure.
the freak out of baby Grogu. Everybody just, every time somebody sees Grogu, they just freak the hell out, and I'm over it. Like, I like Grogu as a character, but I'm tired of the, oh my god, it's a little baby. Like, dude's ripping robot parts off and making rancors go to sleep. Stop. He's he's seen the Force. He's been with Luke. He's not just little baby Grogu anymore, and I'm just tired of that. Not just in the show, but just regular ass, man. Like, let's let our love for Grogu grow with him, and maybe be a little less. Like, you wouldn't talk like that to like an 8-year-old, would you? And if you do, you're the kind of person that 8-year-old wouldn't want to be around. So can we just stop? It's been 3 years. All right, he's not a little baby anymore. He may be the same size, but just let's start having our reactions be a little more. Let's move on from that, please, for the love of God. And I'm talking to like the fandom too. Like, Jesus Christ, how many times can you see this thing and still be like squealing like you never seen him before? I'm sorry, it just annoys me. I think he's cute too. I just don't need to be screaming about it. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Sorry, learning how to block people online. Usually we have such a nice chat, but Anyway, that's a good point. Those are good points. Don, what about yourself? What was something that bothered you?
Let's see here. 2 giant droidicas show up, and instead of saying, hey, let me go get the giant ship that can blow them away, I'm gonna stand here and use my rifle, try to pew my way through it for like 20 minutes. And, oh man, after I'm getting my ass blasted all over the street, oh, hey, Mando, you mind staying here and try not to die while I go get the thing that everybody forgot was still
Right.
even around? Because honestly speaking, come on, who remembered that the Rancor was even still a thing at this point? Nobody remembered that the Rancor was still a thing, even though uh, even though they actually had him in the last episode. It was still like, oh, had a Rancor. Okay, cool. Uh, so
Yeah, that was like 3 episodes ago, man. We don't remember that stuff.
yeah, I mean, again, and why are we now just getting these giant Torticas? Seems like the syndicate was a little OP, just a tad bit, because it's like, all right, it was already a bunch of a bunch of them that almost seem to be like the guys from 300. What do they call them? The Immortals.
Mm-hmm.
Was just a bunch of faceless guys in masks or whatever showing up. And it's like, wait, we just wiped the entire street clean. How did 30 more of them show up? Where the hell did they come from? Okay. But then
Spawn points. Everyone knows it's spawn points.
yeah, apparently. And then out of nowhere, we get not just regular droidicas. It was bad with the regular droidicas. No, now we get droidicas that are like 4 times the size of the super battle droids from before. I'm like, wait, okay. If the Separatist Alliance is no longer a thing, and Sidious kind of dismantled that whole regime, where the hell did they get droidicas?
They brought them in their cargo ships. They were in the baggage compartment. The little
No, but I
robot had
mean-
to check them in.
No, but what I'm saying is, remember, the Clone Wars at this point was like 30 years ago, right?
That's true.
And after, all right, so I'm gonna get a little Star Wars nerdy here. So at the end of the Clone Wars, when the Republic became the Empire, all those systems that got brought back into the fold that were the Separatists, everything got taken over, nationalized, and became Empire businesses, and they got rid of droids, which is how we got the Stormtrooper Corps. So you would figure, okay, they got rid of the droids, and the people who were manufacturing the droids, Darth Vader killed them on Mustafar. Who has now taken over to manufacture even more giant and more powerful versions of the things that were decommissioned 30 something years ago or more?
It's a fair question. The was it Scorpionoids that they were called?
Something like that.
I do recall seeing somewhere that I think they were from concept art or ideas from, I don't know if it was Clone Wars or one of the previous stuff that ended up never being used. So it's one of those recycled bits.
Right. I get that, right?
But I get your point. Who's building them? Look, Tatooine, they said, just has all sorts of stuff buried down. There was another Sarlacc who had this metal fixation. A couple of these droids living in there for 1,000 years. I have no idea, Don. I'm making this. I can't go with you on that one. What I gotta say, one other little bit that I did love is now it was nice that the people of Freetown showed up, implying that Cobb Vanth is dead, though we find out in the post-credit that I had to rewatch twice and then look on the internet to see who the hell that was in the back to tank. But it was nice that the people of Freetown showed up to give him some cover. Am very curious why when the ship comes in, they give him cover as opposed to taking the armored troop like behind the enemy and taking them down. And then as all of our people slowly arrive, they all take the same piece of cover. Nobody is giving any shots in the back. They just all come up to beat, which is nice. It allows your enemy to focus their fire as opposed to, being distracted, which is just honestly, just kind, just polite, really. God, I feel like we've been here for 50 minutes. There's still so much stuff. I can just feel like I could go and just rank on of things that just sort of annoy the crap out of me or were just completely pointless or went nowhere. But let's move on. The book of Boba Fett has closed, at least for now. Hopefully we're looking at limited series because I'm going to tell you these reviews will not review Boba Fett Season 2. I'm going to tell you that right now. I could be wrong, of course. Who knows? They could wow the crap out of me, and I could give it a shot. But this, and we can't even leave Tatooine because Kenobi's the next one out, May 25th, 45th anniversary of the A New Hope coming out in theaters, which is all very nice. But he's gonna be on Tatooine. Can we please get off this desert planet? What are you guys hoping going forward? Do you hope that we get a season 2 and they redo stuff? Are you done with this? Do you even want to see any more Boba Fett and the whole Tatooine problem that we have? Because Kenobi is coming up, which we will watch because you and McGregor. But damn, what? I don't know. One of you grab. What do you think of where do we go from here? Do we just want to go back to Mando? Nobody wants to say anything.
You know what? No, Bobo, you haven't talked in a while.
What do I want? What is it? What does it even matter?
Do you want to see a season 2? Do you even care? Do you feel like we should just move on?
Well, remember the plate?
Yeah.
From
I
last
remember
week
the plate.
that I decided this was what it was worth writing my notes on.
Sure.
And I said it would be important because I wrote just a couple of words to keep it in my head. It's all connected. Star Wars /equals one series. They have it in the name. Star Wars. This could have looked differently if they had just designed this whole thing to be like Star Wars. Okay, in this Star Wars, it's the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 1. And also remember, like a lot of Lucas's stuff, like Indiana Jones, was based on serials. And same with Star Wars. It's part of the whole thing with the crawls.
Mm-hmm.
It's the old homage to that. And I always thought, like, well, why don't they just do whatever they want week to week? It's still all connected. It's just telling different stories from different parts of the world that you could just do that. If you wanted to do 3 episodes of like call the flagship show Star Wars and have this part of it be the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 1, 2, 3, then you could just switch shows and say, we're doing Mandalorian for 2 episodes. So chapter, 1 and 2 of this, whatever you want to call it, you can make it whatever you want. You just call it Star Wars and then insert it like an outline and have people just watching week to week. And then you could also still have these shows like Obi-Wan Kenobi that are telling specific things like that you couldn't really, but I mean, honestly, Obi-Wan should be a movie and not a TV show. That one I'm going to say right out now is the way that they're describing it is like, it should be cinematic. And I think that's also a problem with right now is that we're seeing like these really cool moments in some of these shows in this series. We had these really cool moments and they'd be more memorable if they were on the big screen. It's just their impact kind of gets lowered where it's like we say, oh, that was really cool. But if we were to see like Slave One taking out the bikers or the Rancor jumping off a building in IMAX, I think we might be a little more forgiving of some of this stuff because the spectacle at least does give a little bit of credence to like your enjoyment. sitting at home, I'm free from COVID and people in general, but there is the experience factor of all this, and it does kind of like beg the question: is it always, it's not going to? I think what we thought Star Wars Disney Plus, that there wouldn't be a quality drop, but we're learning quickly that there is, and that this is the television division of like Disney, Star Wars, Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Every single thing we've seen, as good as it has looked in many ways, and whether it's a Marvel show, especially the Marvel shows look really, really good for the most part. But there's been times where they don't always look the best. And in this, it's a really big, this takes a really big drop to me. This
Right.
feels like television. This feels like what we've joked about a little bit of the whole, the like universal, like show, like I don't know, a stunt show, some of it. And it just feels like, that's really where we're headed with this. And I think I'm going to try to temper my expectations on quality as far as the way things look and everything, and try to temper it down a little bit for my expectations going into the future. Now, I mean, if Obi-Wan Kenobi looks like shit, then I'll be pissed, because that should look epic across the board. It should feel epic, whether you're watching it at home or at the theater. But a lot of this stuff, I think, is just, it's not going to look the best, and it's not really going to be for us all the time. And it's going to have all these moments that I think we're going to be having a hard time visiting every show that comes on. Like you said, you're not going to cover it unless they wow you. And I completely 100% agree. Because, I mean, if you look at the trailers for this show, the trailers, man, I got hyped off those trailers, because they showed us all the out of context cool stuff.
Sure.
And then once we got it all put together and saw how it was being put on us, given to us, offered to us, then we realized, oh no, they got some really, they got people to put together a really great trailer and hid all the other stuff inside it. If they make a Boba Fett, season 2, I'll watch it. But yeah, I mean, it'll suck. I mean, I'll probably want to just talk like this with you guys, like offline, and not even like air anything we say,
Right. Well, that's it. Because I don't want to rank on another show for ages.
But,
that's.
I mean, if they're going to experiment, they need to do it on something that people don't give a shit about. Don't take the characters that, are I think it's a foregone conclusion, though, that it just feels like in order to really become theirs, they have to slowly remove quietly all the old, until it's just a bunch of familiar things, but not the same things.
Sure.
And take that as you will. There's going to be people that'll be screaming about that all the way, till their dying breath. I'm hoping that they just give us some animated movies that are like really well done. Basically what we talked about last week with what they're capable of doing. They can tell stories that happen after Jedi, they can tell stories that are way before anything that happened in Force Awakens. Mm-hmm. There's a big gap of time there to play with, years and years to play with. And let the and try to give everybody both, because I think that's in the end that's what they're trying to do, but they always are going to be reaching for that new market money, and so it's always going to feel like you're falling behind a little bit, no matter how old you are, unless you're in that real sweet spot where you'll have a night where you're a certain age between, like, say 4 to like 15 or 16. You're gonna have a hard time with a lot of these decisions, I think. But if you're just one of those people who really just doesn't care and just enjoys Star Wars, and that's fine.
Yeah.
If Star Wars just giving you anything is what does it for you, I always say I wish I could be like that. I really do. I envy the people that can be like that.
Well, and And I like your idea of kind of an anthology series, kind of like that too. Fangirling and Loving It also thought that could totally work. And you're right. If the expectations for what we were going to be seeing was a little more fluid like that, I think we could probably be like, oh man, next week we're not seeing more Boba Fett. I want to see Mando, but hell, how does Boba get out of this? That could build up certain tensions if you're done all very right. Don, what about you? What did you want to? What do you want to see going forward, if anything, or you happy with what they're delivering?
What I would like to see is tighter storytelling that can stand on its own, that does not rely on pre-existing knowledge, that does not beg that you watch another series to fill in the gaps. I think with The Mandalorian, they did a great job of, if you have never seen anything Star Wars ever, they filled in all the information so that along the way, when you get introduced to a new character, they give you the information. Yes, they may have been expositional in nature at times, but it didn't feel like it was, okay, we have to shove this information at you. So for me, going forward, if you're going to do things like where you introduce someone like Cad Bane, um, Luke Skywalker, even, right? Because what if someone had never watched The Mandalorian, never watched anything Star Wars before? This is the first thing they watch. One, they're gonna be like, who the hell is the other guy with the metal helmet? Why does he have this little green kid? And who's the blonde dude with the funny face that's telling him he's either got to choose the laser sword or the Viking shirt? So for me, that was the one major thing. I'm above any and all things else. I am always story first, even though I am a very visual person. And this looked great, and sorry if you're hearing Lucky play with his toys in the background there. But this looked amazing. I think visually, this is what George Lucas wanted for a Star Wars series. So I can't take that away from them. But there has to be more consistency with the storytelling, and it has to be able to stand on its own. There needs to be a beginning, a middle, and an end that if I never watched anything else, that I could pick up this story. I have all the parts to it, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That was an awesome story. And it makes you want to go and see what else is out there. Not that, oh, damn, well, I have so many questions, and the only way for me to get those questions answered is to watch this thing because they didn't include the information. So, yeah, that's what I would like to see going forward.
All right. Yeah, I think that's a fair ask. Tell a story that we can all get along with, that we don't have to watch anything else. We don't require previous knowledge. But that if we have that previous knowledge, we get to enjoy extra levels on it. And I think, to me, that is that good writing. If you don't know anything, you don't need anything. If you do know stuff, then you'll appreciate this guy we got in the background and these things that we have over here, and what the salacious one of my favorite bits from season 1 of Mandalorian, the first episode, was the salacious crumb characters in the marketplace in cages. One, because that creature annoyed the hell out of me when I was a kid. But it was also like, it looks right if you don't know. And if you do, you can go, look who that is. That's awesome. Which I think is Easter eggs done right. I think that's enough to cover kind of everything. Like I said, there's tons of little stuff that we can go over more. There's a lot of I mean, there's moments that I just keep wanting to talk to, but again, it's going to end up being, I didn't like this because I think overall for a finale, I'm just glad it's over. And it's hard for me to say that. I can't wait for Mandalorian season 3. Let's get back to Mandalorian Grogu. Those to me were the best parts. Let's have Fennec go out into the world and do other interactions. Ming-Na all day. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Star Wars. I will take her any way that we can. I really want to get away from Tatooine. I'm hoping that Obi-Wan does go out in a way, and I assume that he would, and this would not all be like, the adventures of Tachi Station. But it's Ewan McGregor, who I think is very vested in the character. He's, Ewan McGregor. So I think that he not only can bring a lot to it, but I think that he would want to push, if he's going to do this story, would want it to be done right. So I've got a lot of expectations. I'm very excited about seeing that. We're obviously, with the end of this show, going to be on a little break for a while, but we will be back as soon as Moon Knight drops at the end of March. That I'm really looking forward to. So cool. And yeah, it looks, see, to me, this is going to be the real test for Disney Plus, is how far are they willing to go, because this is a very interesting story. It's very edgy. There's a lot of, and from the previews, it looks like they're going into like full Moon Knight, which is kind of, like I said, edgy for Disney Plus. So I'm really curious, and if that works for them, maybe that tone can help filter down into some of these other properties. I'm not talking about crazy. I'm just talking about willing to push those edges. If you're going to have Fennec assassinate everybody in the dark at the end and garrote from the ceiling the mayor, why are you sort of hemming and hawing from violence throughout the rest of the show? That was one of the inconsistencies that got me. So I'm hoping that this kind of filters out. I'm really looking forward to seeing that show. But of course, that is going to wrap us up. Before we get our guys to say goodbye, I just want to be sure to say thank you to Wes Sager, Eric Scott, fangirling and loving it, the Rich Room jumping in as well. Everybody joining us in the chat. I can just scroll up. There's so many. Devra was able to chop in for a little while as well. Silva Surfa, thank you guys so much for joining us throughout this whole season and dealing with a lot of our rants. Really looking forward to swing things around into much more positive when Moon Knight comes back for us. So, first, say goodbyes. Don, any last words? Where can people find you?
So, just remember, you never go full Michael Bay. Even Michael Bay had to learn that. You notice we haven't seen him in a while. And you can find me on Twitter at iDonWillie. That is IDonWilli. Find me on YouTube at A Don of Ice and Fire. And you know what? I would like to say thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you, of course, to these gentlemen who always make it such a great time to be here. And Boba, take it away.
Yeah, all right. This was interesting. What happens when you get three people together that really care about something and want to be honest and want to not have to completely bash something? This really pushed us in a lot of ways that we weren't comfortable with. and it became really hard going in. Like, how do you talk about episode 5 and 6 that are really good episodes, and how do you still somehow find ways to completely bash it apart? We figured it out, and it's like that's something that we're happy with. But I'm happy that we're still able to look at ourselves in the mirror after being honest about it, at least. You know, but yeah, I'm really looking forward. We're moving forward, and we're taking a break. I'm gonna be back covering Walking Dead when it comes out. How big those reviews are gonna be remain to be seen, but I will be putting out something every week for The Walking Dead that's coming out on my channel, Smirking Reviews. And I'm looking forward to being back here for Moon Knight. Absolutely big Moon Knight. I just got my Moon Knight number 25 today. First appearance of the Black Spectre. So yeah, I'm a Moon Knight fan, everybody. So get ready for some real in-depth stuff when it comes to that show. I'm going to be bringing it. So excited to do that. Otherwise, yeah, you can find me, around.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us in the chat. Very excited, at least forward, while we have a lot of dead people. Cobb Vanth, as we saw in the kind of mid-post credits, still alive, sitting in the back to tank, though I guess he's going to be Mod Vanth going forward. Cobb Mod.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Why? I'm just going to leave that right there. I'm going to do that. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll catch you all later. Stay safe. I know there's big storms that are going out there throughout most of the country. Try and stay warm. It's 90 degrees here in LA, so I will try and send some of my heat your way if I possibly can. All right, y'all. Take care. Be safe, and we will catch y'all in a few weeks.